Oh, yes.
And
so you found him.
yeah, I found him. Yes.
And was he happy to be
Hired a
found?
private investigator. Huh?
Was he happy to be found?
At first, he wasn't. I mean, he is an older man of a different culture, like, and he didn't even remember my mom. He had no recollection of that. He had no idea I existed.
Hold on. Wait a minute. Hold on. It was a mess.
Yeah. No recollection.
That is a mess.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It is.
That's really hurtful. That would really hurt my feelings. Like that, you came out of this thing that was conspired, that was created, and then this man didn't even have it at the back of his mind, or even the side of his mind, like, oh, this thing happened over here.
No, because I used to always think that they set it up. I used to think that the person must know and they were okay with them doing this. Like,
he didn't know. He probably didn't know.
He did not know.
So he didn't know what was being done using his bits and his...
Right. He had no clue.
Oh, my goodness. That is... Wow.
Yeah.
That's a mess.
Yeah.
No judgment,
so that was a
Mom,
whole nother roller coaster, just kind of scared of the rejection from him, just processing, how they did this to this man. And, like, it was a lot. It was a lot.
And that's absolutely not cool, because you don't...
Yeah.
I think if you are enrolling someone to use their bits, then the least you can do is let them know,
Right.
This is what
right. So he was a little angry at first, like it took him. Listen, I found him. It's been almost 2 years now since I found him. And it took him probably a good year just with processing it all. Like, first, just like, who are you? What are you talking about? What do you want?
Do you look like him at all?
Yeah. Yes.
What is up with this man?
Yes.
Denying the people who look exactly like them. Like, let's go to the mirror.
Yeah.
Never mind. Let's just try the mirror. Do you see what I see?
Well, you got to realize too that also is his culture. He's from Lebanon. That's what I'm mixed with. I'm half Lebanese, and so in his culture, he's Muslim, and he was married.
And he wasn't supposed to be doing any of that.
He wasn't supposed to be doing that. So he didn't want to admit that to what he had done. When I first found him, it was total denial. Like, oh no, I don't do that. I had a wife. I didn't. Yeah.
Maybe then that was something for him as well, to just live in truth, That was a lesson for him to live in truth. Like, even though it had he was literally reaping what he was sowing, because he was being dishonest with his wife. And so 2 women were dishonest with him.
Yeah.
Voila, that's what happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's about, I think for him, that was also a lesson in facing his own stuff about.
It took him a good year to even, accept it. And, but now, oh my gosh, he is just head over heels. He was married and they had a son, and the son passed in a motorcycle accident about 4 years ago. So he thought he had lost his only child. Yeah. So he went through a whole emotional roller coaster, just knowing I have a child out here, the whole Black woman thing. He had to come to come to Jesus moment that yes, he does like Black women. That was a whole conversation between us.
Interesting. Okay. What, is that not allowed in the Lebanese culture?
It's not that it's not allowed, but you know, the ex-wife wasn't black, and she was a little racist actually. So I know she pissed to see my little brown self here.
Right.
Because I actually wife before I found him.
So she's still around. She's still alive.
Oh yeah, yeah. The ex-wife. Yeah.
And what did she have to say?
It was so funny because when I found her house, so I had to actually go knock on her door. And this was before I found him at all. Like, this is just through Googling, researching, found the address, you know, once I got his name. And I just knocked on the door and told her, you know, I think he's my father. And she looked at me real hard and she was like, I think you might be right. She was like, what year were you born? And I told her. And she said, yeah, I always thought he was messing around on me. And here you show up 40-something years too late. I done divorced him now.
So she knew what was going on.
She said she always thought that he was running around on her. And now that I know him, he is a very much so, even at this age, a ladies' man. Like, yeah. So he was a perfect target. Like,
so he got what he got. What, I'm not gonna say the rest, but he got what he.
Yes.
I see. You know what I'm remembering? There was somewhere there in the episode something about you being a gold digger or something with Nancy, and then the money and what? Can you because
yeah, that came up because Nancy has always spoiled me with money. So whenever I see her, she slips $100 bills to me. And so I don't know if Justin overheard me in her conversation or if I said it to somebody and he heard, but he is so offended by our conversation because I said that to her. I said something like, who gonna slip me $100 bills now? You know, and then she said, don't worry about it. I'm gonna make sure that you're taken care of. Your mom is going to make sure that you're okay. And, you know, and I said, you know, please make sure, because I don't know, you know, what I'm gonna do without you here to, you know, when I tell you, Nancy was like my, you know how dads say they daughter's ATM or whatever. So she was my father figure to me. So she was like my ATM. So yes, money played a very big part between she and I. And why Justin is so offended at her and I's personal last bedside conversation, I don't know.
Okay, so
I don't know.
Are you saying this is
no problem? See, my mama doesn't discuss death or insurance or arrangements or none of that. Me and Nancy talked about that all the time. She told me how she wanted to go, what song she wanted played, what she was gonna leave. You know, like that was a part of our conversation. And so they were offended by that. And I tell him that I don't care if you're offended by that. That was our personal conversation, and it's none of his business. Sorry.
And that's the relationship you had.
That's the relationship we had. Yeah. I still had my last $100 bill that she slipped me. You know, like
what you mean. It's like you had this kind of relationship, and within the dynamic of just the bubble of the two of you, that's the kind of relationship you had, and you both were fine with it. Yeah. But someone else looking on the outside is like, she always trying to get $100.
Yeah, that was their opinion. You know? But the crazy thing about it is nobody has nothing to say about the fact that, guess what? My mama ain't give me nothing Nancy left me. Ain't give me one penny. And in the show, I asked her about it. They edited it out. You know what she said? That money trickled through my hand before I knew it.
Trickled to who?
My mom. Whatever Nancy left me, she never gave me.
So that she's saying that money trickled through her fingers.
Through her fingers before she could give it to me.
To who? To
I didn't even ask that.
Oh.
But in the show, when we sitting in that conversation, that clip, I asked her, you know, well, Nancy told me, you know, she left the money. That's what they edited it. And then they made it say one part where she said, Nancy ain't had no money. That was my money. And I let her say that too. But guess what? That was Nancy money too. They own a business together. They were 50-50 partners. My mama liked to act like she had all the money, and I let her say that. I didn't want to rebut. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't trying to argue with her. I just said, okay. But that was Nancy money too.
Did she give the initial money to start the business? Maybe that's why she felt like she had a greater ownership.
They got a loan to start the business. When they started that business, I was the only employee. It's a family-run business. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I let her go ahead and say it was my money. Nancy had no money to give you. But then right before that, situation. She admits that Nancy left me money, but it trickled through her fingers.
I would think, having been there from the beginning, from the start of the business, you would be concerned when now one person who is now passing on about what is going to happen with the business. It would make sense. And she's even your mom now, she's an elderly mom, so these are things to be concerned about, because if you're not thinking about those details of what's going to happen, what's going to go to who, what do you want to go to who, I'm not here to say it's mine, but what do you want to go to who? Let somebody know, so that we're not over here fighting after you gone.
Right. Even right now, my mother will not discuss what she's doing with that business when she dies. She just cannot talk about death. That's just a part of that whole quiet, brush it under the rug. That's just how she is. And when I try to talk to her about it, she'll get upset. You just want to talk about when I die. Well, Mom, you have to talk about that stuff. But that's their generation.
But so what does that mean for you? Does that mean then you just have to take care of yourself and just make sure you have your own money and you're not looking forward to some inheritance and windfall or whatever that is going to? Yeah. I mean, that's what I always tell people, when I hear these stories of people fighting about the inheritance. I'm like, so did you have a job? Why were you waiting for your mother's money or your dad's money or your uncle's money or your grandmother's? Why were you waiting for?
Before everything went crazy, I was already, remember telling you when Nancy got sick, I was the one running the business. And so I actually went and got licensed to take over the business. It's a care home. And so you have to have an administrative license. I actually went and studied and did what I had to do to get an administrative license. Mm-hmm. It was set for me to run the place. But when everything went to hell, she was like, don't come back to my business. So I said, I'll just keep the license in my back pocket for just in case one day, but I have moved on.
Or you can start your own thing,
And that I did. I actually have 2 little mentally ill ladies that I take care of. I started my own.
Okay. So what was the kind of business that they ran and what's the kind of business that you run?
She runs a residential care facility.
Okay.
And so she's got a 15-bed facility. And so I run
elderly.
Is this for mostly mentally ill, elderly? Yeah. And so I have a boarding home and my little ladies are mentally ill.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
so we were supposed to go in together, connect the 2 of ours, and I run hers whenever she get too old. And cause we had we were pretty good before all this happened.
Mm. But I think it's always good to start your own and get your own thing going, so that you're not holding your breath for somebody else's anything.
Right. Because I never in a million years thought that we would have gotten to that place.
Mm.
But, when people pass, you realize who was the glue.
Right. Oh, my battery. Okay. I don't know if this is a better angle. Let's slide.
It's about the same.
Yeah. So, I'm glad we had this conversation,
Me too.
Yeah. I think it's just, it's always kind of, it leaves me confused and feeling strange. Like, I've been wanting to do a video about, why I think Iyanla is making this her final season. I think, more and more the show, there's become pressure to do TV, and I think she maybe that is not willing to do that. And I think part of doing TV is kind of twisting some things, but because her name is on the show, everyone then blames her, and it is not blaming production or, whoever, you know what I mean?
Right.
And that's probably.
And then I heard her say something about how people talk so bad about her and she doesn't deserve that. And I get her on that. You do the show trying to help people relate it to themselves. And so many people just take it and judge you. Even talking about what she wears and, how harsh she is on people. And I mean, she's just telling the truth.
Yeah.
I get it when people try to run off and all of that, because at one point I wanted to run too, But if you really heal then you have to sit in your stuff.
And that's hard. And wait and literally feel that pain and know that it's not going to kill you. And
yes,
you know, and just go through it and get to the other side, you know?
Right.
So
because it's well worth. I know for me, a lot of people commented, was like, I was faking, my apology at the end wasn't real. No, I promise you, I would not have apologized to my uncle if I didn't feel it in my heart, because he was a hard one, okay? And you see how he still sat there refusing to receive it, but called himself a Christian. Like, I thought Christians, that was a number one thing for y'all.
I think also, you know, people think just because peacemaking happens, then it means you're hugging and you're in each other's lives, and that's not necessarily the case. You can make peace with someone but still not be in a relationship with them, because again, forgiveness is for free, but trust comes at a cost, you know.
That's a good one.
You're gonna have to pay for that one.
Yeah, because I mean, even my mom, I was able to forgive her, but you know, like you say, forgiving and then building back that relationship again is a whole nother story. So we take it slow, you know. We're not trying to jump back in like nothing happened, because you know, we still have to be very aware and be very intentional with
of the immediate past, because this is not like, oh, you did this thing that long ago and it's been these many years of making right. This is like an immediate past. It's not a very long ago past that you've worked a great distance through, you know. So so the God is definitely still up. So but I liked what your youngest said, you know, just, you know, when he said get in each other's shoes and see things from each other's perspectives, and maybe that might give you some kind of, you know, insight into why people did the things they did or said the things they said, or won't do what, you know, you want them to do, right?
Yeah.
So he's still at neutral, and the third one and the last one are still at neutral and in good relationship with you.
They are still at neutral. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's hopefully, you know, you're able to make it right with with somebody.
Right.
Along the line.
Well, I mean, for them, it just kind of changed my parenting with them. Remember, I told you I did learn that from Iyanla, to kind of back off and let them live. Because like the youngest one has just decided that he wants to stop going to college and become a rapper. Now, before Iyanla, I would have went off on him. Like, no, education's first. You're not doing this, and I ain't paying for this if you don't do that. But
a rapper in the middle of a pandemic?
Yes, that too. I did not go all. I'm a little disappointed, but I'm gonna support your dreams, and if that's what you want to do, then I support you, and you just let me know how. So, like I said, I am working. I'm a work in progress.
No, which is also important, because you know, sometimes people have a clear vision of something and they're not getting support, and that's all that they needed to actually give them that, you know, that energy to keep going and pushing and going hard at it and towards making it. It might not make sense to you or even me, but you know, but I think it's important to just at some level, let it go. It's not your life, you know.
That's what I do, and that was so hard for me, but I did it. I just took some deep breaths and I meditated, and I said, you know, I have instilled in him all that I can, and you know, now it's up to him to, you know, go out here and learn life. But yeah, he just knew I was gonna go off. He was like, you know, don't get upset. Like, he did the whole prep me thing. When I responded, he was like, wow, you really,
you know, I think as we're talking now, I think the reservation from parents is, fine, you're gonna do whatever, but then when things don't work out, you're gonna come to me and be my expense.
Right. Like I say with Lauren, right. Nobody believed me. I fought too hard for her, but when it hit the fan, who did she come running to? Who got to put her up and take care of her? And you know, like, yeah, at the end of the day, it still falls on you as mom.
That's what I'm saying. Like, parenting is no joke. I'm still like wringing my hands around Do I become a parent? Do I not become a parent? Because I'm like, I don't want none of that. Don't come running back to me past 23 years old. Don't.
It's that transition I told you, like, that's really hard for me, is that from raising them as kids to now them being, you know, young adults, you know, like really hard straddling that fence. How much do I give? How much do I back off? You know, but guys, I got a lot from the show. It even helped me with my parenting. Like,
are you getting more access to your grandchildren, Justin's kids?
No, he's still no access to them. And what's heartbreaking about that is that his oldest son and I had a pretty good relationship, you know, like he was maybe 6 or 7 when this went down. So I don't know what he's telling him. I don't know, you know, what he thinks about where his gammy is.
Do you
I don't know.
Ever said anything disparaging of their character, both your Lauren and Justin, to their kids?
Yeah, Justin got upset because I said his boys had big heads, and he's self-conscious about that, and that hurt his feelings. And so, like I said, with Justin, I just have to be better with my words. You know, with Lauren, I can say whatever about her kids, pick on how they dress, call them big heads, and she don't care. But with Justin, those words are, I have to be impeccable with my words with him. So that's something I'm learning.
And that the children are different, you know, like you can be one way with one child. You can have 5 kids, but you don't blanket, you know.
Yes.
Them, you know.
Yes, but Lauren's kids, I keep them all the time, see them all the time. You know, we have a great relationship.
Yeah.
So Lauren never really did. That's why I say she had a reason to be mad. She never did snatch her kids from me. Like, she was a little hesitant with baby boy because she said she felt like because he looked so much like his abusive dad that I wouldn't treat him right, you know. So she did that for a little while, but no, we're good.
Okay, so you still don't have access that much or at all with Justin's kids, but Lauren's
no
kids,
access to his kids. His kids will ask Lauren kids about me, like, how come you get to see Gammy and we don't? So I don't know what to do with that one. I say maybe just when they get old enough, you know.
Write letters.
Huh?
Write letters to them.
I tried that when I was like sending books over there, and then Justin sent me a message through KJ that was like, don't send nothing to my kids. Don't, you know. So I stopped. I said, I respect his wishes. I don't send them. I don't try all of that stuff.
Oh.
And he is not receiving
letters that you keep in a box, you know. Sometimes you can have a conversation with someone without them necessarily hearing it.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, and then just have that ready for when you transition out of here, and then say, hey, can you get this to the grandkids? And so that at least they know that you were thinking about them, that you were concerned about them.
That's a good idea.
That because I do see them.
I have a case like that for Lauren's kids. I have, you know, suitcases that I have went and refurbished and painted all cute. And I have cases for them where I do that. I, you know, take pictures and write them letters and things we do together.
Right.
So that's a good idea. I'll make one for Justin's boys.
Yeah.
I appreciate that one.
Yeah, because I just, you know, because kids do grow up to know what the truth or decide for themselves, you know, what was fair, what was not fair. And you know, just make sure that on your side of the lawn you have you fixed your lawn.
Right. You know? Do my part. Right. Okay. And I do every now and then. I text Justin, you know, hey, love you, miss you, thought about you today, and he'll respond just like, you know, a you too or okay, thanks. You know, so that's how I work on that. You know, I'm letting him take his time, and I just let him know I love him, and I try to stay positive. And I'm very cautious with my words.
Yeah, it seems like there's still a lot of like, what's the word? Stuff that he needs to say to you or wants to say to you. And also like there was also that conversation of there are things that they remember that you don't remember.
I really don't remember. I know a lot of people was like, oh, her ass remember. I think it's from trauma. I think, you know, because I just moved through life so fast and so much has happened that I really don't recall it like that.
Like I was saying earlier, you don't even recall that it was having that kind of an effect on someone else. You were just moving through it so fast, and you think, oh, it doesn't matter. But for someone else, it's the thing that's big and a magnified thing that they're experiencing, and they hold on to that. And you're like, oh, I thought that was something very small.
Right. Right.
Well, I wish you healing, continued like breakthrough with the family.
Yes.
I'm so grateful to all of you that you gave yourselves and your inner, business so that we could have that illustration of how those generational patterns work through generations. If they're not interrupted, if they're not uprooted,
Right.
And that's always my focus when I'm watching the show. It's like these people are giving us a very beautiful gift because they don't have to tell these stories out here in the publics,
Right. Right.
And this exercise is for you to look at yourself, not to be looking at them. So I just want to thank you so much, you and your family, for doing that. And hopefully, even just by doing that for you, that kind of brings some kind of healing and peace about what has happened,
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I said, I thank you and I appreciate you for, like you say, looking at it to see how can this, break generational curses? How can this help others? Besides just doing a whole vlog, child, look at this crazy family here. Like you'd be amazed at how many of those I scrolled by. And even some I did reach out to the same way I did with you. And they weren't interested in knowing, how are you guys doing and what was your intention? And it was just to be, plaster our faces and do the gossip. So I appreciate that there's true folks out there like you looking to really help people.
Yeah. I mean, I literally did the review for this final season literally because God asked me to.
Yeah.
I was always reviewing it in my head like, oh, they had done this and this should have happened. And then God said, why don't you actually do
a review? Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, I can do that. So I'm glad I did.
Me too.
Now I've
Me too. And it does make me feel a little more positive about the experience, because I know that there are some people out there who, look for it as a lesson and not just a gossip. So it makes me feel better about it.
For me, for the past 6 years, that every time Iyanla comes on for me, it's like I'm going to class. Like, what am I going to learn? I'm there to learn about. And like I said in my review that, it was very emotional for me because it had me thinking about just some, parent-child conversations and how to begin to have those and and also gauge, could I ever have those conversations in the way that I would like to have them, in a way that would be satisfying for me as a child who speaking to my parent. And if I can't, part of the decision I've had to make is to be able to have full conversations, raw conversations with people, but in their absence. And I found that kind of works for me as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't need the person to be there anymore because part of my work that I do is forgiveness strategy and forgiveness work. And so I'm able to just, okay, I cannot have the conversation with you because sometimes you're trying to do forgiveness work because you're at a place where you're ready to have hard conversations, but that's you. The other person may not be ready to hear
exactly
the hard things that they need to hear. Yeah. So sometimes that's why it's interesting. I like what you're saying, that you got what you needed to get out of it. Because ultimately forgiveness work is about you, and you can't make the other people ready for what's required. To what's required to admit, what's required to be accountable for, or even hear the raw truth of. off. So yeah.
Right. And like I said, that was part of my thing. I could not figure out how to forgive. I couldn't find it in my heart. I had prayed on it. I tried, and I was just so full of anger. So for me to be able to go through that process and really in my heart forgive was just so liberating. I came back to this person.
What happened that you could suddenly forgive? What changed? What shifted?
Well, for one, it was seeing them there, like, and I don't think they didn't show a lot of this part, but there were parts when we were in there on that couch and my uncle got to just talking to Iyanla, and I could see how broken he was. Like, I had never spent time with him enough to really see him talk and express things. And, so when I saw him sitting on that couch and he was just so off topic, started talking to her about his divorce and his past and his life and
people's stories.
I just felt that forgiveness. And I was like, you know what? Like,
you were going through a lot.
And he's broken and he don't know how to, like, I am not as bad off as these, what I'm saying? Like, he ain't got much longer in this life and he can't figure out how to forgive. But he calls himself a Christian. Like, I'm not, religious. I believe in a higher power. I'm spiritual, but he is a diehard Christian. And you can't figure out how to forgive. Like, and he could not accept the fact that he had put his hands on me. Like, he kept going through the story about how, he's a pusher. He's pushed women and he's done this, but I'm not a woman beater. I'm not that. And I'm thinking, yeah, he's got this is really hard for him.
Even the pusher is problematic.
Right. That's why I'm sitting there listening and thinking, and my heart felt for him, and I was able to forgive.
How many people have you pushed? You're right, though. When you do hear someone's story, and that's why it's important to share your story with your children as the parents, because then it helps them understand, these blind spots and these missing links that, make forgiveness difficult. And the moment you have all these missing pieces put together, you're like, oh, somebody broke you too. And then you just broke in. Oh, I get it. I'm just going to have to work on not breaking the next person. But, Yeah.
So, and even my mom seeing them two converse sitting on that couch, and I was just like, you know what? I felt for them. I was like, this is all they know. They don't know any different. His experience, he believes that in his heart. He believes he just pushed me. So Iyanla said, respect other people's experiences. His truth is not your truth. So I got that.
Ooh, what's going on? Is your battery low?
That is his truth.
I see. Right. Connection there. Right. Yeah. Because that's the thing. You don't want to be in a forgiveness process and then have to forfeit your point of view and to accept somebody else's point of view as actually this is what happened. And I think that's part of what I'm getting from this conversation is that there's your perspective and there's everybody else's perspective. And to you, your perspective is valid. And we have to validate that. And the next, even Justin's perspective, even your daughter's perspective, even Justin's wife's perspective. And it's like, you can't, the point is not to make you forfeit their experience, but to say, okay, we might all experience this differently, but let's work towards peace,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm okay if they aren't there yet, like I saw my uncle the other day, and I think he thought I was my mom because I was driving her little van. I just looked still mad. When he saw it was me, he turned around to go the other way. I just wait.
Bless
still out here angry. Let that anger go.
At some point you just need to do the process on your own, have the conversation with them in your mind and go on, and hopefully they can come to one day their heart can just open up,
Yeah. Yeah. But I, even with him though, I get it because I hadn't called him a punk, so he ain't gonna never let that one out. He was too bad. He was like, I ain't forgiving your butt now, girl. You don't sit here and call me a punk on TV. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
But I like I said, I would do it again. It was hard, but I got everything I needed.